Namaste, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about rite of passage of womanhood and manhood into excellence. And this is a part of a Native American spirituality, as well as a part of other ancient cultures and their spirituality regarding man and woman and becoming the man, becoming the woman. So this is a spiritual practice that is character development. And we know on planet Earth, our whole experience is for character development. So we're going to dive into the virtues of man, right? Because the character development that happens is for virtue, right? Having a virtuous life, right? And that is what a man and a woman is, right? A man has these virtues and a woman has these virtues, and they're different. They're different, but they're gained through these sort of initiations that happen, right? As a man is initiated by, usually in the tribal sort of setting, by the mother or the father. Same thing with the woman, right? They're initiated by their tribe, or they're self-initiated into these phases, almost like into these educations, right? That they learn these particular subjects. They learn them very well. They get very good at these particular subjects that I'm going to share with you. And then they get this excellence, right? They get these excellence. So we're going to discuss about the virtues of man. So when a man is a man, right, he has this character development, right? Because not every man, you could be 25, 35, 45, 55, 85 and still not have the virtues of a man, right? I've seen many, men that they have, obtained God, glory, and gold, right? The old medieval saying, right? God, glory, gold, right? A part of the patriarchal dark age, right? I've seen men who have obtained that, but they still are not a man, right? And they're like 85, right? Because they don't have the virtues of a man. They didn't initiate themselves into the character development that will gain them the self-esteem, right? So the virtues of a man is self-esteem, right? And there are many men who you could see in their midlife crises, we could say, they're struggling with their self-esteem, right? 35, sometimes 45, they struggle with their self-esteem, right? It means that they're going through, you could call it a dark night of the soul. You could call it a midlife crisis, where their self-esteem is being challenged and they're being initiated into character development, right? They're being initiated into to living a virtuous life, right? So the virtues of a man. So the first phase, right, when you could talk about it, when a man or a boy is starting to adhere the calling of manhood, is courage, right? Courage for a man is about overcoming seduction, temptation, lust, and greed. So that has to do, again, with working on determination, dedication, and discipline. So again, you can see men in the 85 and they struggling big time with seduction, temptation, lust, and greed, right? So, and this is sort of again, the sort of foundation, right? The building block, the first building block to a man become, again, a boy moving towards a virtuous life. Right? So this is the first phase, and this is definitely, in tribal times and many sort of spiritual cultures beyond just Native American. There is this boy being initiated, usually a lot of times by the father or even the mother, by the tribe in general, to be courageous, right? We call it, we could say in many households, right, that there's a boy and the father, sort of teaches him how to hold your ground, right? Hold your ground, right? We teach our son to, you got to hold your ground, right? You got to, you got to use your head and shoulder, right? Which you can say is your courage or your integrity, right? So over again, in that courage, the how is really about overcoming these the seduction, temptation, lust, and greed. That is a struggle for men than women. I mean, women struggle with it too as well, but men more so, right? So that's something that has to be worked through. You have to have triumph over that. And like I said, some men, they don't ever balance out the lower chakras that has to do with their sexuality. They never really do balance that out, right? And that has a lot to do with your self-esteem. When you're constantly in this seduction, temptation, lust, and greed, you're never going to find this sort of sexual balance, which is, you're never really going to find your self-esteem, right? So for a man, how he moves through this phase and what he you could say he develops in this phase, this foundational phase, is determination, dedication, and discipline, right? And then you can say when you cross through this phase, you get into the second phase, and this is emotional well-being. And this has to, again, this is about emotional maturity. And it takes courage to have that emotional maturity. And this emotional maturity, it has to do with a man becoming, you could say a boy becoming a man, right? Being more heartfelt. It's about being, you could say, compassionate. And it's about being instinctual, right? It's about the feelings and exploring these feelings and using these feelings to potentiate them further, right, into life and to have a more richer experience. And what is gained from this phase of a boy becoming a man is discernment, responsibility, and potency, right? Discernment, responsibility, and potency is very much what we gain, you could say, as a boy becoming a man through emotional well-being. And that's where you really start to see a boy have this sort of accountability. And that's when they start to become trustworthy to their tribe. They start to have this accountability. They start to have they start to have this responsibility, right? The experiences, their challenges, their struggles. They're starting to use their discernment, their instinct, right? We call trusting yourself. That has to do with your emotional well-being, right? You're sort of tapped into your feelings, right? To get you that potency, right? Potency has to do with this enthusiasm, right? Knowing how to direct your energy, right? Knowing how to get things done, right? Knowing how to learn your lessons, to be knowledgeable. And really, men become knowledgeable through the expansion of the emotional body, and also through the discovery and the sort of self-mastery that comes through the emotional body, right? Emotional maturity really is this sort of anchoring rod for what makes a man, right? So, and then the final phase, right? The final phase for a boy becoming a man is partnership. And this has to do with love, which is about a man, again, finding balance, stability within intimacy, sexuality. Has to do with generosity, which is about being helpful, and peace, finding peace within partnership, right? So with a boy becoming man, there is this really what a man is, the self-esteem. And what that is used for. Again, the great offering. It is the great offering to a woman and her community, So that's kind of like a hunter, right? A hunter comes to the community and says, I have this great offering, and that's usually given to the woman. A lot of times women would be well educated in knowing how to serve the animal, right? Which is skin the animal, prepare the animal, right? For the community, for the meal, right? So there's a sense of the men, they have this great offering to the woman in the community, right? The tribe. So how they gain the men is sort of richness, right? The experience of being a man and that kind of richness, which is different from a woman, as you will see, is about partnership. That's really what it gives this sort of satisfaction, is to be able to offer something, you could say, to offer these riches to the woman and to the community, like a hunting. I just brought back this big old buffalo, right, type of thing, that can be used in so many ways to help the tribe, right? So there's this great boy becoming a man, right? The man has this great desire for intimacy and sexuality, I mean, as well as women, but men actually have this self-discovery that in the area of partnership, that's something that helps them to really become a man, right? Because it's about making peace, it's about having that harmony, right? That's really the the boy becoming a man, is having that harmony. The journey of a man is peace, right? Relationship harmony, relationship balance, peace, right? And it takes courage and emotional well-being to actually be able to have that peace, to have that relationship harmony, have that greater intimacy and sexuality, right? Because we could see men in many forms, like 55, 85, having sort of superficial, shallow partnerships, but that's not fulfilling them at a soul level, and that's not actually putting them in a position of being a man, right? Because there's no virtues in that sort of life, right? So the men they become this virtuous man through having partnership. Again, that could be with the mother, the wife, the daughter, the community, the tribe. That is very rewarding, very, very rewarding. So the kind of overall life lesson of a man, right, that is unique to manhood is forgiveness, understanding, and consciousness. So that's really in a boy becoming a man, and what a man it's gonna be continue to learn throughout being a man, is about forgiveness, understanding, and consciousness. And for a man, consciousness is developed through the emotional maturity, right? The emotional well-being, right? But you need to have this sort of courage, right? A man needs to have this sort of courage to be able to overcome these challenges a man will face, right? Which is temptation, seduction, lust, greed. These are common things, struggles. And many men, they fail the tests, right? In ways they fail the tests, and they don't successfully navigate through the other phases, right? To get that sort of their self-esteem, because at the end of the day, this virtuous living of a man is about having self-esteem. And that's why a boy is initiated, either self-initiated or initiated by the ancestors, to go through these phases so that they can basically have their self-esteem, right? Which is the kind of living a finer life, a more rewarding life, right? We call it about having fulfillment at the soul level, right? The character development that is going to really bring this success of a man, right? So then we're going to talk about the virtues of woman, right? So the virtues of woman. So a woman as a woman is self-respect. That's a woman as a woman, is self-respect. Woman is self-respect, and she goes through these self-initiation self-initiative processes to basically have that, the self-respect. So the first phase that she is entered into, either, self-initiated or initiated by her ancestors, is personal power. It's different from the man. It's similar but different, right? It's personal power. And the subjects of education are resilience, tolerance, stamina, and fairness. So that's what she learns through this phase of her, you can say, initiation process into becoming an excellent woman. Personal power. And that's about overcoming low self-worth, oppressive behavior, and self-hate, right? So the man, what he has to overcome is different from the woman, right? And the personal power is the foundational building block to becoming a woman, right? To going into the womanhood, becoming a woman, right? So the personal power is used to overcome low self-worth, oppressive behavior, and self-hate. And then after this phase, right, this foundational phase, a woman enters into the phase of sovereignty. Sovereignty, you could say, subjects of education are independence, intelligence, right? Or knowledge, and craftsmanship, which can be seen as developing creativity, developing the creative mind, which is kind of seen as the great problem solving mind, or the great judge, right? The great judge is having that creative mind. And that has to do with sovereignty, right? That has to do with, being able to have a perspective, right? Have perspective of life. And usually that sovereignty is sort of established through the, you could say, working on the creative mind. And this kind of is supported through the learning of the ancestors and learning of the lineage. What gives this sort of sovereignty is learning of the ancestors, learning of the lineage. So, and then the third phase is, again, the sort of the living a virtuous life, the great reward of this character development, right? Living a rewarding life is spiritual fulfillment, very different. So for a woman, what really satisfies the woman, right, is the spiritual fulfillment. And that has to do with the subjects of creativity, prosperity, and nobility. And this is, again, the man is seen as the hunter, right? The great offering to a woman in her community, right? I offer my self-esteem to help the community, the tribe. Now, for women, you could see the gatherers, right? The gathering of the berries, the gathering of the corn, the gathering of even the beads or the pearls for for jewelry. The woman is seen as the gatherer of the people, right? And they gather the people together, right? They gathered like a great, again, the woman, the gathering of people. And their great offering is to the earth. Right? So men, there's this great offering to the woman in her community, and woman, there's a great offering to the earth, right? So that's about finding your place in the earth, right? Your order, your balance, your harmony with the earth. That's something that is a focus for women. And then for women, right, the sort of rewarding life or the virtuous life of a woman is having freedom, right? That's what a women yearn for, is having that freedom, right? And then it's the peace, having that peace in how they have that sort of peace is in having a harmonious relationship with a woman, as well as just woman, the feminine energy, having peace with that, right? Being having a self-esteem to be respectful and respected by the woman and the community, right? For showing up as being a man who has this strong self-esteem. And then for women, it's the freedom. So freedom has to do with self-expression, freedom of self-expression. It has to do with creativity. It has to do with making corrective decisions like a great judge, right? Bringing fairness, right, and rehabilitation to the community. Restoring balance. It can be about making just actions that are going to bring about sort of stern but firm, you could say, decisions, right? When it comes to maintaining, you could say, a mediated life, maintaining this sort of mediated life. And that really is about freedom, right? When we think of freedom, a lot of times we are thinking about the justice system in many ways, right? When we think of freedom, we think of the freedom of speech, right? These kinds of things. It has to do with fairness. It has to do with order. It has to do with having this governing force, and that is really maintained through the creative mind. Right, strategy, even when it comes to military strategy, is a lot of times through the creative mind of the woman in many ways, right? Having that sort of ingenuity, having that sort of ability to have many perspectives, ancient perspectives, present perspectives, but also futurist perspectives. And then, so the journey of a woman is freedom, and then woman is the sort of the virtuous life and the rewarding life of a woman is woman of fairness, spiritual and physical justice, and universal order, which is integrity. Universal order, universal integrity. And that is the kind of a woman who is a woman, right? It has that education, has that self-mastery. So for a man, we see the man has mastery of forgiveness, sense of mastery in understanding and consciousness. And women have this mastery of fairness, spiritual and physical justice, and universal order or universal integrity. So this is a lot of information, right? But I wanted to kind of share with you the rite of passage of womanhood and manhood into excellence, right? And again, this is belonging to a spiritual culture. You could say a more tribal culture, like Native American culture, that basically your tribe will initiate, your ancestors will initiate you into this, right? In like as a boy, right, you'll be initiated into courage. As a girl, you'll be initiated personal power, right? And then you'll so on, and you'll continue on this journey, right? Or you self-initiate yourself, right? But this is a sort of the pathway of creating a lineage, right? And this is a part of a lineage. This sort of, this is a spiritual culture that is a part of, we can call a prosperity lineage, right? And men and women go through this and have their challenges and have their struggles with this. Like with women, the oppressive behavior is something that can be a struggle for many women, right? With, the negative mind. And then for men, you could talk about, greed or lust, that type of thing, right? Identifying with your ego based off of, the appraisal of other people, right? The pleasing of other people, that can be a struggle, right? When it comes to partnership, right? For let's say for men, intimacy and sexuality, right? Generosity, that can be a struggle for some men, right? When it comes to creating a peaceful environment, and knowing what it means to use your discernment, your responsibility and potency, right, to create peace. And peace is not always about, again, attachment. It's also about knowing how to mediate, meaning if if there's a goodbye, right, to a partnership or some sort of strife or some sort of conflict, knowing how to mediate, right, knowing how to forgive, knowing how to understand, right, so much choices and decisions in their own life, and knowing how to develop this consciousness, because men develop consciousness through partnership. That's really how they really develop consciousness, is through partnership, which is a lot of times through deep intimacy and through deep sexuality, basically deep love, platonic romantic love with a woman, with the feminine energy. They gain a lot of wisdom, a lot of self-discovery happens, a lot of consciousness is awakened and developed through partnership. And a lot of, for women, a lot of, you could say, nobility, because a woman, again, has this sort of nobility because she represents self-respect, right? Is how she gains that is through the spiritual fulfillment, right? Women, they grow so much, leaps and bounds through spiritual fulfillment, which has to do is through being victorious in one's creativity and prosperity, right? So what a woman really wants to offer is she wants to offer to the earth, right? She has great offering to the earth, and that really has to do with bringing about this sort of harmony with the earth, right? Feeling this harmony, right? Like a humanitarian or environmentalist, right? Finding this harmony with the earth. That's very much what a woman is. That's so fulfilling, right? And for men, this is very fulfilling to have this harmony with a woman in her community, to be helpful, to be protective. That's what really gives him, you can talk about fulfillment on the soul level when it comes to being the man in his life, right? So this character development for both man and woman is really about the empowerment of a man and woman, right? The empowerment of a man and woman, the man and woman having the experience of their excellence, which not every man, not every woman has, right? Not every man and woman has, right? Because it is, it is something we have to triumph over these particular phases. It's like school, right? We do have to triumph over these particular, can say educations. So I think I'm going to leave you guys with this that I have so far. I know it is a lot of information, but you can listen to this once, you can listen to this twice. Again, this is a template belonging to spiritual culture such as Native American, but also it can go all the way to ancient Egypt. That was something that was sort of instilled within, you could say, boys and girls as young as like 7 years old, right? For a lot of us, we can be late bloomers because we don't have that tribe that's really pushing us to initiate ourselves. Right. So a lot of us, we can start to, move into this, this virtuous life when we're, you could say like 25 or 35 or 45, right? Because we don't have that great catalyst, which is the tribe, or the great challenger, which is the tribe, right? And us, as you can say in current days, and again, it's different depending on your geographic region. But in current days, Americans, in many ways, we don't like to be challenged. We don't like our character. We don't like to experience that challenger, right? It's like we start to like get kind of grumpy or agitated when we have to when we're challenged and we have to grow and we have to mature. It's like we get agitated and we resist and we're like, I don't want to do it, and we delay and deny and ignore, right? Not understanding that this sort of challenge is wonderful. Some people don't have that sort of challenge. Some people are never agitated. That gets them to grow and mature. They never really get to experience the fullness of what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman, because they don't have that environment, they don't have that challenge, or they don't have that, you know, that community or that opportunity really to grow and to mature, right? So you can, you know, have this virtuous life, which is basically, as a man and as a woman, is about, you know, a higher status of a human and of being on this planet. And I think, you know, in ancient Egyptian times, Native American, that is what really makes the community rich, what makes the tribe rich, is having these sort of high status, high quality of human beings that have been well, you know, have been well, you could say, trained in the virtues of man and woman. And I'll tell you one last time, the virtues of a man, right, is courage, emotional well-being, and partnership, right? We see partnership like in trading, partnership in many ways, partnership as in allies, partnership, right? In love, in friendship, education. With the virtues of a woman is personal power, sovereignty, and spiritual fulfillment. Those are the virtues that make a woman. Again, with a man, his virtues that give him self-esteem is courage, emotional well-being, and partnership. Now, the virtues of woman that give her self-respect is personal power, sovereignty, and spiritual fulfillment, right? And the journey of a man is freedom. The journey of a woman, the journey of a man is peace. The journey of a woman is freedom. And the great hunter, right? Man hunt, right? To have the great offering to the woman in her community, right? And a man, right? A man is a man, right? Of forgiveness, understanding, and consciousness. That's what really makes such a rewarding, you can say, man, very, very rewarding type of, very, very fulfilling sort of, when a man has this sort of these sort of masteries and discoveries about himself. And then a woman, the woman is the gatherer of the people. So the woman is gathering the people together to share, to care for each other, to educate each other, so that everybody has the balance of the scales, so that there is no, you know, withholding, and there is no sort of discrimination that goes on. It's about, let's educate the people, get the people together, let's share with the people, right? Let's educate the people, right? So the woman is about fairness, about justice. And how the woman does that is her great offering is to the earth, meaning she learns the earth, right? The earth isn't just, we call it ceremony, or the earth isn't just, you know, spirituality. It's also about, the offering of the earth. Let me learn about the science, right? Let me learn the science of earth, the mathematics, the mathematical, you know, earth, right? The sacred geometry of earth, right? So that is the great offering is to the earth, is to want to be a participant, wanting to understand the ways of the earth, the planetary progressions, the sort of cosmic events, the sort of, you know, biology, right? The sort of organisms of earth, right? And the journey of a woman is, again, is freedom. And again, she is who a woman is. A woman is a woman of fairness, spiritual and physical justice, and universal order and integrity, which is, sometimes it seems like this would be more of a man, but no, this is actually more of a woman. Even when we can look at the sort of, you know, the ancient Vedic society model, woman is very much fairness, spiritual and physical justice, and universal order / universal integrity. So I'm going to leave you guys with this.